Mannequins. The bell on the kids' corner door was a shy sound, not much louder than the hiss when you open a thermos. Tessa shouldered in with her backpack and the damp wool smell that clung to the hallway of Hollow Ridge Elementary, pencils and bleach and whatever cleaner Ms. Ruth used on the whiteboard. Her mother had already propped the door with the grey rubber wedge. A rolling rack of tiny winter jackets sat in the entry like a bright herd, tiny Sherpa collars, plastic zippers with fat teeth, pocket flaps stitched a little crooked if you knew to look. "Shoes off if you're going to sit on the floor," Lila called from behind the counter, where she was counting the day's singles into crisp stacks. She always did it the same way, tens first, then fives, then the fanned-out ones, shoulders tipped in to block the view like there was a line of pickpockets waiting to pounce. The heater in the back room coughed and steadied, the kind of old baseboard rattle that you learn to stop hearing. "I'm not sitting," Tessa said, and immediately dropped her backpack and sat cross-legged by the display window. Lila said, but there was affection in it. She pushed the drawer closed, and it slid with that heavy, sure sound, the weight of quarters thunking underneath. Mondays always felt lighter. People stocked up on socks and hats on Fridays, before the slopes, then nothing for 2 days but returns and, "Do you have this in a 10? Outside the big window, Main Street kept doing its low winter thing, sun already thinning at 4. A couple of tourists in rental boots walking heel to toe like they'd forgotten how to move on flat ground. The groceries sandwich board advertising soup. The glass had its usual film of handprints at kid height, little moons of face smoosh, a constellation of curiosity. Tessa breathed on it for the circle, then wrote her name backwards with one finger so it would read right to the street. The O in Tessa was a heart today. She rebreathed the circle a second time, and inside the fog, the mannequin boy in the varsity jacket watched her. "Mom," Tessa said. She held up her phone as a mirror, checking the dragonfly clip that was supposed to keep her bangs out of her eyes. In the screen, the mannequin's bent right knee looked different. Yesterday, it had been a show-off bend, foot forward, laces splayed to display the tread. Today, the knee sat a half-notch to the side, heel just off the plywood, like the boy was about to push off the starting line. Lila clicked the pricing gun, chunk, chunk, and set another rectangle of orange on a tag. The gun had a tiny smudge of polish where she had dinged it on the glass last winter. Did you move Terry?" "Terry who?" "The boy." Tessa tilted the phone so the screen showed her mom without showing her, made a square with her thumb and forefinger, like the YouTubers did when framing a shot. She was trying to get the stripe down the boy's sleeve and the lip of the display base in the same frame. "The varsity jacket boy." Lila glanced up. She always said they should never name the mannequins, gave them power, but she sometimes did it herself when stock was late, and she was mad at inanimate objects. "I haven't touched them. Hank brought him last month. He's heavier than he looks. My back is still angry about it." She angled a box of mittens so their palms showed. "Why? What's wrong?" "Nothing." Tessa zoomed, then zoomed again, and the pixels fell apart into squares that remembered there were no eyelashes here, no pores. Just the smooth surface with the faintest seam line under the chin, if you knew to look. "His knee is different. Wasn't like that yesterday." "That's called like mother, like daughter," Lila said without looking. "We remember wrong more than we admit." She came around the counter with a handful of safety pins and adjusted the scarf on the girl mannequin who wore the mustard puffer. The mannequins were arranged for a snow camp story. Twins in puffers, boy in varsity jacket, toddler in little red boots on a tiny block. Hikers in pioneer outfitters 2 doors down were for the rugged fantasy. Kids' Corner was for the photo on the Christmas card, where everyone looked coordinated, even if they fought in the car. "I'm not wrong," Tessa said. It came out softer than she meant, not a protest, just a fact she needed someone to carry with her. She angled the phone and took a photo anyway. Snap. The automatic shutter sound was a happy thing, too cheerful for the late day. "Homework?" Lila asked without turning. The scarf wanted to fall the other way. She pinned, repinned, and at last it sat with that effortless look that took 3 tries. She breathed out and smoothed the sweater on the little red boots girl, which had gathered static and clung to the plastic like it needed a hug. "I finished most of it during quiet reading. Miss Ruth says hi." Tessa swiped to check the picture. It had a tiny blur she didn't like, so she took another from an inch higher. The sticker above the boy's shoe, the one Lila had slapped on the glass herself, said 30% winter boots in black marker. She tilted the screen, trying to get the sticker, the kneecap, and her own eye in the reflection. The phone made her face long, a silver spoon. "Ms. Ruth always says hi," Lila murmured. "Ruth had a way of making you feel like you belonged somewhere already, even if you were 15 minutes late to the first day of aftercare because you'd had to run to Pike's Fuel for gas after school drop-off." She pinched the tiny zipper on the mustard puffer and tugged just a millimeter to straighten the teeth. Stood back, squinted. She felt the store then the way she sometimes felt her own house. Every object at its address, everything trying in its quiet way to say welcome. From the back room, the strip of old neon above the bathroom door stuttered to life. It wasn't neon, not really, just a thin ballast in a cheap fixture that had a sound like winter bees. It came on with the heat, so that you never heard it until you were thinking of something else. The hum settled and folded back into the day. The heater clicked, click, click, click. Tessa blew another fog circle and leaned her cheek to the glass, cold enough to sting. The circle fogged wider. Then, for a second that was nothing and everything, it felt like the glass exhaled with her. A spiritless thing, just science. Warm meets cold, but it made a ridge of goosebumps spike under her sweater. She climbed to her knees. The boy's knee looked exactly the way it had in the first photo, not moved at all. She made a face at herself and took a third shot, framing the sale sticker cleanly this time. Then, for no reason she could name, she took a second photo from the aisle, not square to the glass, but angled, so the light strips overhead marched off into the reflection and made triangles. She liked how it looked, the tiny fairy LEDs they kept strung up year-round, the street in double layers. The boy's shoe pointed just slightly to the exit sign on the far wall. She didn't notice the way the zeros in 30% sat a touch farther apart than they should. "Stop fogging the window," Lila said, "because habit made you say certain things, even after you'd stopped truly caring about the smudges." "I just Windexed." "I can still see out," Tessa said. She swiped her sleeve across the fog, left tracks. Writing her name in the breath made her feel anchored to the place, like a dog that knows where home is by smell. They had one customer, Maya from the market, with a list wedged in her coat sleeve and a laugh about stocking up for another weekend of unexpected colds. Tessa rung her up like Lila had taught her. Greet, bags or no, fold the socks, verify price, joke about how little socks always escaped the dryer like they had social lives. Maya had the way of listening with her eyes, full on, even when she was already turning. "You two coming to the window thing tomorrow?" she asked. "Ruth is making a rota. Don't ask me how to say it. She put it on the PTA page." "What window thing?" Lila said, though she'd heard in bits and bobs. "Stay lights on. Don't give the creepers places to lurk." Vague talk. This was a town that knew how to invent things to do in the off-season. "Don't look away," Maya said, mock spooky voice. "Stare down the bogeymen of Main Street." She handed over a coupon she'd dug from the bottom of her purse, then wrinkled her nose. "You smell that?" "The heater," Lila said, automatic. But she sniffed too. Not dust, not quite. A hot, faint, sweet note, like a glue gun you forgot to unplug. It threaded through the drift of mitten lanolin and cotton dye. "New tags," she added. "They changed the adhesive on me. Doesn't stick halfway as good." Maya said, unconvinced. She tucked the socks into her bag and waved with her wrist, fingers spread. "Tell Abel we're out of the orange on 30% if he comes by. He keeps stealing them for weird joke signs." "Will do," Lila said. Tessa held out the tiny dinosaur sticker Maya's boy liked, a bribe to make the market's long line easier.